In the very early days, when people were like, my pizza's burnt, it has black spots on it. Because people didn't know. Like most people in Bangalore didn't know what sourdough pizza was. Most people didn't know what sourdough was. You're running a restaurant and you're not making those margins and you can't afford staff. Then you're just stuck. You're like, what have I done to myself? You're not a business owner. You just become self-employed. You've just given yourself this job, which is 24/7, 365, no weekends. I think failure humbles you. It teaches you about your own blind spot. And if you have the right mindset and you're willing and you don't have too much of an ego and you're not sensitive as a human being, it really helps because then you can actually look at yourself objectively.
From leaving a corporate career in London to building a 100 crore food venture with his brother, Abhijit Gupta's journey is a blend of bold risks, creative passion, and entrepreneurial grit. Whether it's crafting authentic sourdough pizzas, reimagining paninis, or shaking up the burger scene with wild flavors, his approach has always been product first, experience driven, and deeply personal. But Abhijit isn't just a restaurateur, he's also a singer, traveler, and storyteller. Someone who believes that food is culture, memory, and innovation rolled into one. In this conversation, we go beyond menus and margins to explore his philosophy, his challenges, and what it takes to scale homegrown food brands into household names.
Today, I'm thrilled to be joined by Abhijit Gupta, the mastermind behind some of Bangalore's hottest food spots, Paris Panini, Pizza Bakery, and Smash Guys. Welcome to our show. Thank you for joining us.
It's great to be here. Thank you for having me.
Thank you. So I'd love to begin and love to know about your origin story, that how and what got you into the world of restaurants.
Yeah, I think it was a happy accident. If you told me, I've been in the industry for 8 years. If you told me even 10 years ago that I'd be in F&B, I would have just laughed you out of the room. I would have been like, no way, who wants to sell food? I want to do something scalable, something tech. That's what I would have said. But yeah, it just so happened that I did that whole tech routine, failed at a tech startup, realized how naive I was and how I lacked execution ability and how much more I had to learn. Got back into the family travel agency. Simultaneously, my brother was working with his father-in-law. But the pull of entrepreneurship kept dragging us both back because we were like, we don't want to, run these old businesses that were built before us. We want to do something on our own that, where we can put in our personal flair into the whole thing. And food and travel were two things that my family always did. We really enjoyed it. We'd been through Europe as kids, traveled a good amount, eaten great food. Pizza being one among them. Not that we had any inkling at that point that we'd start a large pizza chain or a sandwich chain for that matter. But we just saw a gap in the market and we thought, restaurants, it's a low barrier to entry, right? Anyone with an idea essentially can find real estate, find a chef, build a menu, advertise their product, get customers, and you can get started. Now, whether you succeed or not is a whole different ballgame. So we were like, okay, this is a low-hanging fruit. There seems to be a lot of potential. Bangalore is a solid pizza eating market, but there don't seem to be any great pizza places. When you come back from Europe and stuff and you see people still eating Domino's here, it's like people, have good taste here too. They're developed. Their palates are quickly evolving with all the travel that they're doing. And even as close as Delhi, the market there was so much more evolved. So we were there for a friend's wedding and we saw a friend at an after party, and this was at midnight or post midnight. A friend orders pizza and I opened the door and I'm like, what is this? Like I'd not seen pizza boxes look that cool. Like these cool prints, large 14, 16-inch pizza boxes. And I take this from the delivery guy and I walk into the room where all my friends are and I ask my friend, I was like, dude, what is this? And he or she was like, that's Fat Lulu's. It's like so matter of fact. And then they're like, don't you guys like order Domino's and Pizza Hut and stuff? Like, what are you saying? Before Domino's and Pizza Hut, we have Fat Lulu's, we have Insta Pizza, we have Tossin, we have XYZ, ABC. We have so many different kinds of pizzas before we get there. And that moment was when the light bulb struck. And Nikhil and I were like, maybe there's an opportunity in Bangalore. And the very next day, literally the very next day, it was midnight. The very next day we woke up and started working on this.
Right.
Yeah,
Nice.
in Delhi.
So back in 2017, when you started with Pizza Bakery in Indiranagar, I mean, it wasn't yet the buzzing food spot as it is today. So what did you see in Indiranagar that the others might have missed?
So
And how do you think you and your venture contributed to the evolution of that area?
I think Bangalore back then in 2017 was a lot simpler. There weren't too many sort of F&B hubs. Yeah, today Indranagar is like an obvious F&B hub. Like back in 2017, it wasn't as obvious, but there were a few, you could say, premium restaurants across 12th Main. Some of them still exist, like Forbidden Fruit. They've stood the test of time and they're still there. The Corner House was there. Then there was, a whole bunch of nice restaurants coming up. China Bistro, which is no more, but they were our neighbors. So we saw this whole street and we were like, there's a lot of potential here. Clearly, there's a good amount of F&B supply here, which means there will be demand, which means there will be footfall, and the place has character. Like it's kind of like a road where there's a good amount of traffic, so enough cars passing by, so visibility is good, and decent enough parking around the areas, like on 11th Main and 8th, 9th, 10th Main. All these mains is a lot of parking, so there's good footfall traffic as well. And rents at that point were super affordable. So we were like, if we're getting into F&B, let's enter with a bang. Let's get the best possible location. The other location we had in mind was central Bangalore. We considered Lavelle Road, we considered Museum Road, but we couldn't really find real estate in the area. So it was between Indiranagar and this. And I think, yeah, so that was a good move. We obviously then, the second part of your question, how do we feel we contributed to the space? I think just by building an experience around a product that drew so many people to Indiranagar, like people from Kormangla, Kamanhalli, Whitefield, everybody came into the pizza bakery. And soon after, about a year after that, to Paris Panini as well. And then a lot of other small brands looked at this footfall, and then that kind of has a flywheeling effect where more F&B brands start popping up, which is a win-win for everybody. So I feel like we were kind of part of the process. We didn't start the Indiranagar 12th Main culture, obviously, but we certainly gave it a push.
And what's your checklist before saying yes to a new location or a partnership? I mean, is there anything that you always double or triple check before you get into it?
The first thing we look at is, does the place have character? And this is beyond checklists, this is beyond numbers, this is beyond science. It's that artistic eye you need to have. Does this place have character? Will it? Because if you look at every pizza bakery location, right, whether it's the newer ones in HSR and JP Nagar, or whether it's the slightly older ones in Indiranagar and Church Street, every location has character. Like even the Indiranagar one, it was an old house. It's on multiple levels. And this stuff didn't happen by accident. We intentionally look for places like that. We could take a simple structurally glazed building with basement parking, ground floor, first floor, and then, just have a rectangular outlet. But we feel like that loses its character. So we look for old bungalows, sort of sometimes these green fields, just old properties that have nothing, and we build the structure from scratch. We don't mind investing for the long term. So number one, character. Number two, is there a solid rent arbitrage we can make? When I say rent arbitrage, I mean generally the industry operates at 10 to 12, 13% rental figures. A lot of restaurateurs are very happy with that. We try and get these old houses and these open greenfield kind of places. Sometimes if we are looking at a flagship location, and now because we're large, we can think like that, we don't mind putting in a little bit more capital, taking a higher rent, taking a bigger risk. But broadly, character, affordable rent, and high street location. Yeah.
So when you opened the first outlet, what was the vibe? Were you nervous? Were you confident? Were you kind of clueless, or all of the above?
It all happens, so at least in our case, it happened so incrementally that the lines between when we actually had the idea that night in Delhi that I was telling you about to when the outlet actually opened is just very blur, because you just start this whole thing off as, okay, let's just explore this pizza business. And before you know it, you're talking to a chef. Before you know it, you're like, hey, there's this amazing location. I was just driving past. Should we meet the landlord? Are we ready? So you just keep taking one step forward. And before you know, like, holy shit, I'm actually starting a restaurant. But that holy shit doesn't really happen, because every day you're just taking one step forward. And one day you have a restaurant and you're like, I'm in the restaurant business. So I don't know what I was feeling. I feel like we were just taking each day, literally every day, as just like live it in the present, take it as it comes, and then just do what needed to be done that day and don't think too far ahead. So I guess we were a combination of optimistic, nervous, excited, curious to actually find out if our hypothesis is even right. It was just like a combination of emotions that we didn't really spend time thinking of because we were so wired into the present that you just do what needs to be done, and that until one day you look back and be like, oh wow, we did this. Yeah.
And successfully too. So from Paris Panini's food truck roots to a full-fledged brand, what lessons did the transition teach you about perseverance in the food industry?
So I think the answer to my previous question also is important context for this. And I feel like perseverance in the food industry is not about is about taking one step forward even when the path in front of you is very unclear and it's like foggy and you can't really see where you're going, but you just keep taking that one step forward, taking the best decisions with the limited amount of data you have in the early days, right? Like with Paris Panini, it was a food truck. We met Nicholas. Nikhil met him in the gym, and then the very next day he was like, maybe we should do something with Nicholas, and I was like, yeah, for sure. I like his sandwiches. I'd met Nicholas through a common friend, and I liked his product. And it was our belief at that point that any good product solves 80% of your problem, and an experience can be built around it. And with the food truck, we felt like Nicholas, what he lacked was the experience that he could offer to customers, because it was parked here one day, it's not there the next, then it's parked somewhere else, and then BBMPs, harassing him, telling him to get his truck off the road. And being a Frenchman in India, obviously it's very difficult to navigate these waters. Being an Indian in India itself, doing business in F&B and retail is really not easy. So we were like, okay, so we bring in these solid operational skills. Nicholas brings in product expertise. He's tested this. People clearly like his sandwiches. Why don't we combine forces and then just take one step forward? Where that step is leading, nobody knows. So you just persevere. You just take one step forward. At one point, our only goal with Paris Panini was we had some ground floor space in Pizza Bakery. Let's just, and when we're paying rent for that, let's make use of it. It's a potentially revenue generating piece of property. Let's do something there. So Paris Panini was just a vehicle to solve that problem. Little did we know there's room for like 15 more of these. So we didn't start with this grand plan and think, oh, we want to do this crazy scalable thing. We were like, let's just take one foot in front of the other, see where it goes. And it's still going.
And what was the hardest moment in your journey that made you question everything, and how did you push through it?
I think the hardest moments in my journey, and this is more personal, have not been in the food industry. In the food industry, both Nikhil and I have been very fortunate because things pretty much started working from day one. So this hasn't been some story of struggle, and obviously we worked hard, and we had arguments between each other. We had heated debates, and we wanted the best product out there, and we had to pick the right locations, branding, appeal to customers, etc. Evangelize sourdough. Nobody knew what all that was. So all those things were challenging. But at the end of the day, we had paying customers who were always from day one just waiting in like droves to pay us. So that kind of solved a lot of the issues that a lot of restaurants have. But personal struggles actually happened before that, because before Popo Ventures, which is the holding company that runs our 3 brands, I had a tech startup. So I had a tech startup which didn't really go anywhere. And at that point, I'd wasted about a year and a half. I don't want to say wasted, but I'd spent a year and a half, 2 years learning about how naive I was, how my view of the market needed to be refined, how I need more operational experience. I was just not rigorous enough. I did not know how to execute my plans. And a lot of fundamental business errors I made as a startup founder back in those days. So those were my struggles. So a lot of this happened before the fact being Popo Ventures. But I think though that journey, that's why I say it shouldn't be called a waste of time, because that kind of taught me to stay rooted to reality, remain optimistic, have grand ideas, but also have a good execution plan on the ground, and put in the time and effort required. So those were the struggles, and I think that's what led to Popo Ventures itself being the opposite of a struggle. It's just been a straight growth curve upwards so far. Yeah.
Brilliant. So, from jamming in bars to managing $1 million restaurant ventures, what part of you has remained unchanged throughout this journey?
I don't take things too seriously. I like having fun. I like bringing what I think it's my fun personality to work. A lot of people find it annoying. So, but I like cracking stupid jokes in the office. I like having fun. I like a bit of performance, a bit of camaraderie within the team, just like you would have with your band members. Yeah, I like putting on a show. I think that has not really left me. And if you've seen my recent Instagram posts and stuff, it's me sort of pressing my that performative side of me to the audience and telling people how I've built what I've built, etc. Yeah.
You and your brother clearly complement each other as co founders. What's the hardest part of building business with family, and what has made it work for the two of you? And what is the ultimate goal for you all?
I think the hardest part of building something within the family is every family member. I mean, you've grown up together. We were in diapers together, right? So we know each other's weaknesses. We know each other's strengths. We know how to call each other out on our individual bullshit. It's very difficult to draw boundaries because of all this context between personal and professional. So a simple, like, say you and me were brother and sister, right? And I could say, what do you know? We may have been siblings talking to each other like this when we were like 6 years old, 12 years old, and it's all cool. But when work egos come into play, it's like, oh, you think you know better than me? Like, I will show you. And so it's very important to navigate those waters and transition from being brothers who just have a go at each other to professionals and treating each other oddly, almost professionally. Like, so that transitionary phase was interesting because we had to deal with each other a little differently, not just like brothers. And secondly, it's great also because both Nikhil and I understand each other really well. Like, he understands what makes me tick. I understand what makes him tick. Like, he is an attention to detail guy, optimizer, tech enthusiast. So that's his strength, and that's where he derives fulfillment from. I'm a creative guy. I'm a people guy. I like to build. I like to market. I like to be very hands-on with operations at the outlet level, front end, things like that. So when we started giving each other space to express ourselves in each of these streams, we realized that this is a great cocktail for success because we're both doing what we enjoy. We're both being very effective at it. You're clearly better at a few things. I'm clearly better at a few things. Together, it just compounds and compounds. And I hope that answered the question.
Yes. And is there any ultimate goal that you'll have?
Goals between Nikhil and I are very different simply because he's married with 2 kids now. And I am unmarried. I have a partner. I live with Deshna. So, but we have very different lifestyles. He's more of a family man. I'm more of an adventure seeker. So I want more adventure, more experiences. After a point, it's not just about the money. Whereas he wants security, peace of mind. He wants his kids to be happy. He wants to spend a lot of time with them. So I think as long as I get my dose of adventure and he gets his dose of stability, we'll be happy working together for the next 5-10 years also. Yeah.
So, Irene, also any professional goals?
Professional goals, I think just we just want to keep, we never thought about this whole thing having a goal in mind, right? Like I said, it was just like putting one foot in front of the other. So keep growing the company. If this whole thing is one large exaggeration, let's see how far we can stretch it. Because we never thought that there would be 16 pizza bakeries, 16 Paris Paninis, and potentially we're on track to opening 10 new Smash Guys in the next couple of years. We never imagined that. But what if we can do 50 of each? So we don't like to think too much about it. What if we can do 100 of each? What if we're the next Domino's? I mean, we don't know. So we don't want to attach ourselves to those goals, but we just want to stay rooted in reality and just keep aiming for the next target, and then the next target, and then the next target. So I think in terms of professional goals, target-wise, last year we did the top line of financial year 118 CR. The year before that we did about 85. So that's growth. And then this year we'll close at about 175, 180. We never imagined. At one point we were like, yeah, Bangalore has room for about 100 max, is literally what we thought. When we were at 40, 50, we were like, yeah, Bangalore, there's no room for two brands to do more than 100, but now it's blown past that. And now we're thinking Bangalore can potentially be a 300 crore ARR market. And we haven't even gone to Hyderabad, Chennai, Delhi. So I don't know we just keep drawing water from the well. We don't know how much water is left. We'll just keep doing that. Yeah.
So growing up, you, your brother, and your family traveled a lot, right? Any fond food memory?
Plenty.
Anything that's
More than when we traveled, because when we traveled as a family, and I was in like a pre-teenager, my brother maybe in a teenager or whatever, like, I mean, we just ate. Like, we didn't really think too much.
So you mentioned you went to Europe. So is any favorite food spot or?
Yeah, but when my brother and I studied in Lancaster University, and then we both lived in London for a couple of years, so we were 5 years in England. Our routine in London was going to Pizza Express, close to Baker Street, that outlet, and having their Romana style pizza. It was just phenomenal. Yeah, we didn't have the idea of starting something like this, but we just loved, both of us, meeting and going for pizza. We tried a lot of different cuisines, not just pizza. There was another place called Hummus Bros that makes these bowls that, I think there's potential for that in India as well. Just hummus bowls with like different toppings like chicken, lamb, you can get some veg. It's just great. And there's like a line around the block. So many experiences like this. There was a burger bar on campus called Wibbly Wobbly Burger Bar. Such a nice name for a burger place. No, Wibbly. So they make these stacked burgers, they're all Wibbly Wobbly. And I love their blue cheese beef burger. That was like a favorite. So I think somewhere all of this just culminated into us starting exactly these things, right? Like a burger brand, a pizza brand. And yeah, I love the sandwiches at All'Antico Vinaio in our trips to Italy. The schiacciata sandwiches, those are phenomenal. And I guess Paris Panini is our answer to that. So somehow it's all come together.
So Smash Guys was built transparently with your YouTube series building a 100 crore burger brand. What made you take this build in public approach, and how has it shaped your customer trust?
After about 7.5 years of just grinding operationally, right? Like behind the scenes, sitting at the central kitchen, sitting in an office, just building the team. I personally felt like I'm losing a little bit of my creative flair, my, like my performative tendencies. And, I wanted to build, obviously I was still singing, I was doing stage stuff and things like that, but what if I could marry that with business and have some fun with it? Because now the business is stable. It's, we can afford to take a few risks. So I felt like I like storytelling. I like communicating my plans. I like inspiring people. I like doing things differently. And I felt like nobody had really built, no F&B founder had really built a brand whilst taking the audience through it from inception to launch and beyond. So since we actually have this plan to build a 100 crore burger brand, why not just make that goal public? It's a bit daunting because, what if it flops? So you have all these fears, but you just kind of like knock them away, and you just, record a video, you put it out, and then putting it out just makes you committed because holy shit, now I need to put out the second episode and the third video and the fourth video. So it just kept, again, one step in front of the other. And today, I'm happy to say that Smash Guys is well on its way to becoming a 100 crore burger brand and beyond. And I also got that lost part of myself back. And I love that, now I'm able to perform as well as run my business and do the day-to-day drudgery of running an F&B business, which can get quite monotonous.
Yeah. I get what you're saying. So every brand of yours has a hero product. Sourdough pizza, Panini sandwiches, smash burgers. So why this focus on one great thing?
Both Nikhil and I were very product people. Forget food, anything, right? Like we're both huge Apple fanboys. So we like Microsoft is this big tech ecosystem, right? Like they have Azure, they have cloud, they have Windows, they have everything. So they're like your cuisine restaurant, but Apple is like it's like your McDonald's. It's got like one thing, here's an iPhone and that's it. Nobody cares. Like nobody cares about anything else. It's just iPhone, and their product focus. And considering we're also tech enthusiasts, we kind of brought that into the food industry, that product focus that people have in tech. We wanted it to be about that. Also, both of us were fried because for years we had run a services business. I ran a travel agency. I still run the travel agency, by the way. It's still alive. It's not dead. It's a hardcore services business where you don't have any, you know, any moat around that, because anyone can kind of give your customer a better experience and then take them, because you don't have any unique product or reason why the customer has to come to you. So we're like, if we ever do something in the future, it has to be product focused. And we saw a lot of restaurants, building places around the cuisine, around the ambience, around the lighting, around the story, maybe some art. And we're like, these things won't sustain, because then the next guy will build something else, and then there's a new concept, and we don't want this to become some kind of lifestyle business. We want people to come to us because they are, to put it plainly, addicted to the product. They just love it. They know they can't get it anywhere. So our pizza should be like the iPhone. If you want the iPhone, you have to go to Apple. So if you want the best sourdough pizza, you have to come to Pizza Bakery. Similarly with Smash Guys, if you want the best smash burger, sure, you can get smash burgers everywhere else, but if you want the best, we will strive and aim to build the best possible product, and then build an experience around it, and also give you that experience. So it's a dual benefit. And same with Paris Panini. So we've just felt like having that hero product solves 80% of your problem. You don't have to do marketing. Till date, we've spent almost nothing on marketing. We do performance advertising and, some clicks and stuff like that on Swiggy, Zomato, the aggregators, which you need to. But in terms of like branding and, all these other activities and hosting people and doing these events and stuff, we've done almost nothing. Almost nothing. So it's just word of mouth. It's just like, man, these guys have amazing sandwiches. Let's go to Paris Panini. Every customer becomes like an evangelist for you when you focus on product. But if you focus on ambience, it's a ticking time bomb.
How about AI? Have you kind of included AI in your brand building exercise?
No, not yet. I think AI is kind of premature. On a personal level, with the way I'm building Smash Guys in public, I am using AI to kind of create some carousels for Instagram and social media stuff. I'm using AI to kind of refine certain scripts or give me better thoughts. I'm also getting better at my prompting to help AI help me better. But that's only at a social media sort of level. At an operational level in the company, there's a few things like, we get emails where there's a lot of data. There's just a lot of data on all the customer complaints over the last weekend. It's just like this tabulated thing where all the customers. So you can just dump that whole document into ChatGPT or whatever, and ChatGPT kind of summarizes it for you. So it helps us work a little faster and not spend time mulling over things.
Yeah.
But I'd say AI is still not very used in F&B, not just yet. But the next few years will change that. Yeah.
Pizza Bakery's 48-hour fermented sourdough is now iconic. So, was there a moment you thought this experiment might fail, but it actually became your signature success?
Yeah. In the very early days, when people were like, my pizza's burnt, it has black spots on it. Because people didn't know. And we were evangelizing this unheard of thing, right? Like most people in Bangalore didn't know what sourdough pizza was. Most people didn't know what sourdough was. Like COVID actually accelerated that education of what sourdough is, gut health, all that stuff. So COVID was a boon in disguise for us, because it kind of made people aware of, okay, this is sourdough. It's supposed to be like that. Some people likened our pizza base to a tandoori roti with toppings. So we were like, is this too alien for people? Is this going to be accepted? Are we going to be able to scale this to more outlets, or is this going to be like a very niche product for only the few who understand? So we didn't think we'd fail necessarily, because like I said, from day one, there were a good number of customers appreciating us. But we certainly had concerns on, we at one point, like, should we just introduce regular thin crust that people are used to? We actually thought about it, and we did trials also, because we like just to kind of de-risk the market, because people may not understand this soggy thing. They think it's soggy, they think it's stale. They think that flavor is like spoiled, but actually you're supposed to have that sour flavor, which later becomes very desirable. But I think the market kind of helped us not get distracted with all these other things, and I'm glad we stuck to our guns. But that was a bit nerve-wracking.
From the outside, running a restaurant can look like a dream. Delicious food, happy guests, great vibes. But behind the scenes, it's a different story. What are some of the daily frustrations that you go through that people rarely talk about or know?
So we've been very fortunate in that we have been able to scale in order to build hierarchy. So in the initial days, when we launched the pizza bakery in Indiranagar, it was the first restaurant, right? You literally have one manager, you have one junior chef, you can't even call him a head chef because you can't afford a head chef. So essentially you're the chef. Even though Nikhil and I both can't cook, we had to learn the cooking process. We had to stand in the kitchen for hours. We had to constantly check about on fridge temperatures, equipment hygiene, how the kitchen needs to be organized, label all the racks, put things in place, teach the housekeeping guy how to use the right chemicals to clean the right pots and pans. It's like your cleaner, your supervisor, your hygiene inspector, your chef, your everything. And in this whole confusion, you have to be like, okay, now we need to document this, so because we can't be there every day. And then you can't really, like, the guys in the back of house are not the most educated at that level, because you're not hiring some executive chef of Oberoi to come and work for you, right? Because you can't afford it. So in the early days, the struggle is, how much longer can I do this? And a lot of restaurateurs who are stuck in that one outlet, two outlet level would often feel that way. Now, if their profit margins are high enough, and they're making a good amount of money, then they can easily be like, okay, you know what? I don't mind making 20% less. For this 20%, I will hire a very senior person to actually be my clone and run this thing, because I will burn out if I keep doing this. But the problem is when you're running a restaurant and you're not making those margins and you can't afford staff, then you're just stuck. You're like, what have I done to myself? You're not a business owner, you just become self-employed. You've just given yourself this job, which is 24/7, 365, no weekends. That could be a nightmare. So fortunately for us, we were able to scale. You should ideally have a restaurant that's has a solid margins, so you can kind of delegate and take your hands off the wheel to protect your sanity. And or you should have, if your margins are smaller, you need to have at least 3, 4, 5 outlets, so the overall pool kind of makes you afford, like, a zonal manager or a general manager and a head chef and things like that. But at the single outlet level, if you're stuck there and you're not able to grow, it might be time to revisit your business model and the actual product or the experience that you're catering.
So we all know how tough the labor market in F&B is, right? What's it really like finding and keeping great talent today? And is there anything you do differently culture-wise or process-wise that helps reduce attrition?
So at different stages of our business, we've employed different strategies. Initially, it was like for the first year or two, I would say, I mean, this has been an 8-year journey, right? Like, so for the first 25% of our time, of our life, say 8 years, we were trying to find people we can afford. Like, that was the challenge, not finding talent, but finding talent that we can afford. Or finding potential in someone super young that we can groom and stuff like that. The challenge with that is it's a tough industry. There's a lot of people, sea of people, but very low skilled. Unfortunately, it's also at times a low integrity business. People will just there's a lot of restaurateurs take it very personally, and maybe we did too at some point. You will groom this guy for 6 months, and the 7th month you pay him your salary, and then the moment his salary credits, that hour, not even the next day, no notice, no nothing, they are gone, like gone with the wind. And you had all these hopes and plans for this person, and you want to develop him into a leader, but that long-term thinking is just not there, because they are not white collar trained, so they don't have the discipline. They come from rough backgrounds. 2, they have too much opportunity in a growing metro like Bangalore. He throws a stone at a restaurant on Indiranagar 12th Main or any place in Whitefield, JP Nagar, Hennur, wherever, he'll get a job. There's high demand, so he's never at risk for his job. So they don't value what they have as much as they should be. So I think that's one problem with finding talent in the early stages. Then in the middle stages, you start hiring a lot of people, because now you can afford managers and zonal managers and operations managers and things like that. And now you realize you've just hired them and you don't have a structure, you don't have a training program in place, because you're not some large MNC with like some learning and development department and all these things. You're just this guy, and I mean, Nikhil and I were just two people, and we've not really documented a process for all of this. So then you start developing documentation, training, routine, you start building a HR team. to kind of keep all of these people engaged, because if they feel like they're not getting growth, or if they're not being heard, or they're like, I'm an operations manager, but I don't even know what I'm supposed to do here, it's like boring, then they will also jump ship. And then at the final stage, it's about hiring more senior people to manage, like heads of department. Heads of department is also incredibly hard, especially when you are a hands-on founder, because you know too much. And heads of department come with a lot of experience, but with that experience, they also bring a lot of bad habits. And our F&B industry is filled with, these bad habits, because how it's grown is hotel habits. Like hotel habits have been moved into, like GMs of hotels and senior people at hotels go and start restaurants and bring that same hotel culture into restaurants, which doesn't work. It's a much more fast-paced environment. It's like, all hands on deck. Everybody has to do everything. So casual dining culture is being built now in Bangalore, and finding the right kind of heads of department who are up for that energy, that challenge. Weekends are tiring, even for the heads of department. Constant calls from everywhere, constant problems to solve. They have to be on their feet. You can't be sitting in your cabin like you would in a hotel. So finding people who are willing to do that is a matter of trial and error. I mean, before today, Guru, who's our chef partner, before we found him, he joined as head chef. Before we found him, we went through 7 or 8 head chefs. So just tiring. Like there's no shortage of people. I put a resume out tomorrow on LinkedIn. I will get an application from 100 head chefs who want to work with Popo Ventures. But only about one of those will be good for the job. So you gotta, unfortunately, hire in numbers and then fire fast. And then the ones that stay back will be the good ones. So that's what we follow.
So you're running 30 plus outlets and you can't be everywhere at once. So how do you clone yourself? Are we talking video SOPs, AI waiters, or just really good training hacks? Have tools like video training or AI help reduce the training time or improved consistency across your outlets? We spoke about this earlier also when you
Yeah,
were
yeah.
mentioning, but is there any sort of
Yeah, I think we have a
organized?
very good technology stack. Despite being an F&B business, we are very, very strong with technology, and I think that's one of Nikhil's and my strengths is, we're comfortable with technology as founders because we're relatively young, and that's a good thing. We extensively use Google Sheets as a meeting tracker. We use softwares like Peakscale. There's so many, but we use Peakscale for our outlet audits, where say you're a zonal manager and you're going to one of your outlets, you have to open Peakscale and do your checklist. So you have to take a live photo of the oven, the kitchen floor, and the customer area, whatever. And there are certain prompts that make the zonal chef go through a specific structure, submit live photos so that we know A, he's there, and 2, it's actually clean. Which then gets reviewed at the head office. So without technology, that would be impossible to do. Earlier, it was like people sending WhatsApp messages back and forth. But after a point, it's just like message overload. Nobody's looking at anything. People are just scrolling. We also use a task management software, off the shelf Todoist, where we delegate tasks to all our senior staff. So there's a very clear accountability of who owns what task. Every update is put in the form of comments, and we know when the task was opened and how long it's been going on. So we kind of push people along. We have our own internal tool for staff at the outlet level itself to raise maintenance requests. So say this fan is not working, I take a photo. Fridge is not working, I take a photo. The fridges are labeled with the fridge ID, and then the head office maintenance team gets a notification, and then they send the maintenance guy there.
Fantastic.
Yeah, so there's a lot of technology in the back end. You spoke about training. For training, we are planning to use this new software. We just signed up with them. I totally forgot what it's called. I think it's called LineMate. I think it's called LineMate. We're going to go live with them in a week, where we start sending training modules to our team through WhatsApp, because and that way we know that they've seen the video and once they've seen the video, because of the flow, it's quite cool. It gives them a quiz after they watch the video, so we know how many of our, say, kitchen executives have failed the test. Maybe they didn't pay attention, maybe they didn't watch the video, or maybe they just aren't getting it. Maybe our zonal guys need to do some hands-on training. If one location has 5 guys who failed the test, then how are they making the pasta the right way? So this is going to give us a lot of data. We're very excited to start this process. This is ongoing. So we keep trying to employ technology to kind of make our life a lot easier. Otherwise, it's very difficult to scale beyond 30, and if we want to be about 50 locations, 50 outlets in Bangalore. We'll need tech to help.
I know that you spoke about marketing, that it worked for you with word of mouth and you really didn't focus on much. But today in the social media age, is there anything that tweaks that has driven the sales at your outlets? And can you walk us some of the things that you've tried and you were kind of surprised that it worked well and used them?
This whole building in public thing for Smash Guys, I think, is one thing that pops into my mind. I didn't expect it to be received so positively, right? And the power of Instagram in relation to F&B is also showing, and I'm sure other industries also. Even a lot of D2C founders are like, you just can't do without Instagram. If you're not a founder who's putting yourself out there, it's very difficult to grow a business. F&B, on the other hand, it's been more templatized ads, and your brand page, you just put like different videos of different foods and be like, come, we have this offer. It's been very impersonal. But this whole founder-led storytelling that I kind of wanted to do to just express a personal itch of mine worked out so well, because the whole Burger Project series now has like 40,000 followers across social media. Smash Guys from day one has had lines around the block. There's people who wait 2 hours in the rain just to get a burger at Smash Guys. And I don't think this could have happened without me building in public, to be honest. Yeah, we could have been successful. We could have run a solid business. But I think doing it this way and having that huge anticipation built and the wait list and people who are just so connected to the brand on day zero, just made that growth curve, instead of being gradual, just go like that. So that's why now we're immediately in parallel. Initially, we thought we'll do one outlet for about a year. But now it's been like 3-4 months since we launched, and we are already constructing 2 new outlets simultaneously. Because there's so much demand, overwhelmingly positive demand. I mean, like, all we need to do now is add water and grow this plant. So,
And what role does failure play in your life as an entrepreneur and as a creator?
I think failure humbles you. It teaches you about your own blind spots. And if you have the right mindset and you're willing, and you don't have too much of an ego, and you're not sensitive as a human being, it really helps, because then you can actually look at yourself objectively and say like, okay, so this is what I learned, and these are the things I could get better at. Okay, this is something that I've been winging. I really don't know shit about this part. I need to maybe learn from someone who's better than me. And you just become more absorptive in nature and more aware of your own mortality in business. And I think after that, you kind of start taking better decisions, more prudency in the way you take your next steps.
So you're passionate about food, travel, music, and how do you balance passion with boring business stuff like margins, licenses, staff turnovers?
Like I said, the best way to do it is to kind of try and marry the two. I think that's happening with Smash Guys, because Smash Guys, a lot of it is not seeming like work to me. It's fun. I'm enjoying this whole building in public process, putting videos out there for people to see. Every burger trial that we do, or every burger that we're working on, people have a sneak peek through Instagram so they can come and try it. So it's very interactive. That's kind of what I like to do anyway. I like to be a people's person. So that part of my inner desire is catered to. And yeah, because we've scaled, the day-to-day drudgery and operational rigor that's requires a solid team. And I'm blessed to have a solid team, management team now, who, while I'm doing this interview here, they are, working away, sorting through reports, probably yelling at some guy for coming late to work, so I don't have to. And I can focus more on the big picture. Yeah.
So if you could go back in time 5 years, what decision would you make differently today?
What decisions would I have made differently back then?
Yes, back then.
I think more than decisions, I would have just maybe allowed myself to dream bigger, allowed myself to think that now, fast forward 5 years, that today was actually possible. Because Nikhil and I are here today without even believing or realizing that it's possible. Now imagine where we may have been if we actually believed something more was possible, right? So I think expanding the mind is what I think, it's a good balance though, because at some point you just cross that line and then you're delusional, and then you're just over optimistic, and then people be like, come back to the earth. But so it's a good balance, but I feel like more sort of aggressive optimism, dreaming, allowing yourself to dream bigger, even though you have vulnerabilities. Like, you're not the perfect entrepreneur. You don't know everything. All your facts may all be wrong. Your logic and your thinking may not be the best. Sometimes you're full of shit. But despite all of that, it's okay to dream big. Is what I would, because we look at our personal insecurities and we look at these personal shortcomings that we have and be like, no, I should first get better at this, and then we'll dream big. So that's what I would do. So rather than, and I think that would have translated into how we maybe took every decision. We'd have taken every decision with more aggression, and maybe would have achieved what we've done in the last 5 years in 2.5 years. Could have happened. So yeah, that's my takeaway for the next 5 years. So yeah.
Do the decisions you make today help people and planet tomorrow?
We are very green conscious. Like with all our brands, our entire packaging is paper bags for Paris Panini, Smash Guys, Pizza Bakery. If you order pizza, it's all paper. We've recently moved from, for some items, like for our desserts, which were a bit leaky and stuff, we had plastic boxes. But even that, as of about 2 or 3 months ago, we've moved to, I think it's cassava or bagasse-based packaging, which is kind of reasonably leak-proof to kind of help go green. We're trying to reduce the usage of plastic across our central kitchen, across our outlets. In some places, it's inevitable. We segregate garbage, so at least that helps BBMP, reduce, recycle, and reuse. So I think these are the steps that we can take as a restaurant. There's a win-win with reducing wastage. We reduce our costs as well as reduce unnecessary food wastage, which helps the planet. But yeah, I think even the materials we use in the outlet are very earthy sort of materials. We try to avoid, plastic furniture and things like that. It's always wood, metal, jute, fabric. So we are a reasonably eco-conscious company. But yeah, I just hope that it was easier to be so. Like, there's more government initiatives helping us recycle better, helping garbage collection, become a little bit more efficient. I think those things will help more than, say, an individual entrepreneur trying to make all the difference himself.
And are you working on any new exciting project?
No, the new exciting project is Smash Guys, and it's been going on now, 4 months since we launched, a year since we had the idea. So it's very new still, very exciting, so much more potential. So at some point, you have to realize that you have to spend 80-90% of your time executing and only 10% coming up with ideas. So no more ideas for now. And of course, the other new exciting project is building my personal Instagram community by telling the story of Smash Guys and Popo Ventures, and trying to kind of put the story out there, inspire other young entrepreneurs or F&B enthusiasts or any business enthusiasts to kind of understand what it takes to build a very large F&B empire.
So, what legacy do you hope to leave behind through this ventures for young entrepreneurs and India's dining culture?
I mean, if I want to be the torchbearer for something, I would love to be the torchbearer for dreaming big, working hard, enjoying yourself, and achieving it despite how little you think you know today. Because every skill that you feel that you lack can be learned over time, and you won't even realize that you're learning it because the path is so hazy. But when you look back, you would have just gathered all these skills. So don't worry about not having skills. Just be open-minded and be receptive to learning. So I want to be that torchbearer for, you can dream big and you can achieve big. Hard work doesn't need to be boring. You can have a lot of fun doing it as well. So don't take things so seriously. Enjoy yourself and chase your dreams, because you have one life. And especially if you're young, however old you are, if you're 50 years old, 60 years old, you still probably, with the current state of healthcare and how long people are living these days, you still have, if you're 60, you still have 15, 20 years. Go chase your dreams if you've not done it before. Yeah.
I love that. So, should we now jump into rapid fire questions?
Sure.
So if you could sing one song on American Idol, what would it be?
Jesus, this is supposed to be rapid fire, right? I think I would sing Can't Help Falling in Love by UB40, my own version of it. Yeah.
What is your least favorite thing about humanity?
Wow. It's a very deep question. I mean, just the atrocities that we're capable of, and you got to spare a moment for this whole Israel-Palestine thing. It's shocking. I mean, we're sitting here talking about chasing your dreams. What about those people? They can't chase anything. Like, it's incredibly sad, and the fact that humans are capable of doing this to other humans is mind-boggling. Yeah.
If you were 80 years old, what would you tell your children?
Don't worry about money. Focus on creating value in any form, for any community, for any niche, for any group of people. Because when you are creating value for them, they'll keep coming back to you for more value. And that basically means you're trading a product or a service for value tokens which they give you. And these value tokens, that's called money. And all of a sudden, you're an entrepreneur. So look at business like that. You've got to provide some value to society, or a group of people, or a group of customers, or whatever these business buzzwords that we've complicated life with. Just provide value in society. Value tokens will just come your way, and that's what money is. So.
What was the last gift you gave someone?
The last gift I gave someone? Oh, it was my cousin's housewarming last week, and I gave him, he's a huge tequila fanboy, and I gave him a bottle of tequila and some Tony Chocolonely chocolate. It's this Amsterdam chocolate bar, which he loves. It's a very nice brand, and they're very green conscious, socially. Their cocoa is sourced from environmentally conscious sources and stuff like. No, I bought it from Singapore. Yeah.
So, what is the funniest thing that has happened to you recently?
I don't know if it was funny, but I mean, the last few times that I've traveled, whoever I've traveled with, I'm a relaxed traveler. I'm the opposite of an anxious traveler. For me, I'm like, yeah, the flight's there, it's not going to go without you. I mean, they'll call you. So just watching people panic around me and then blame me for it and be like, because of you, we're running now, it's final call, this and that. I find that hilarious. Other people don't, but... So my mom, Deshna, like whoever I travel with is always like just coughing at me because I'm so relaxed. Literally the girl there is yelling, saying final call, and I'm still ordering a coffee at the thing because I can see her and I'm like, she's not going to close the gate, come on. So.
What trophy do you want on your mantle?
I don't know. But maybe dreamer, performer. Yeah, that's it.
In the past few months, what is the smallest change you've made that has had the biggest positive impact?
So I think this has been a continuous process. So I don't know about the last 3 months, but every so often, like every 6 months, I just try and push myself a little bit more. I try and get a little bit more done each week than I would normally in, say, in the average of the last 3 months.
Exercise or,
In every aspect. Exercise, whether it's brand building through my YouTube and Instagram, or whether it's always pushing the envelope, thinking about expansion for Pizza Bakery, Paris Panini. How can we like push the envelope? Okay, how can we kind of expand what we think is possible? In every little aspect, can I go to the gym a little bit more? Can I do something a little bit harder? Can I improve at something that I'm already doing? And so sometimes give myself these mental challenges. Can I achieve twice the results with half the effort? So then I try that out. So it's this constant thing. So I think I'm trying to do a combination of all these things. So there's no one specific thing. Yeah.
But that's a good thing to grow, right? To have that feeling of growing. So what do you stand for and what are you against? Any one thing?
Integrity, honesty. I think that is the fabric of society. Otherwise, everything is just smokes and mirrors and it just causes everyone anxiety. Stand for that. What I'm against is, I guess the inverse of that would be the obvious answer. But also, and this is maybe a little bit more businessy, outsourcing your problems. Like in business, a lot of people think, in the early stages, I will hire someone who's an expert at this. I will hire someone who's an expert at that. But you should really, endeavor to become not an expert, but at least know 40, 50, 60% of it. Otherwise, you get taken for a ride because you just end up depending on that person's expertise, and then he's telling you a bunch of shit that may not